I'd like to call this meeting of the Leon Independent School Board to get ordered. January 16th, 7:01 p.m. Looks like everyone's here. I'll pray and then we'll get started. Dear Lord, we just come to you this evening and thank you for the many blessings that you give each and every one of us every day. Just pray, Lord, that everyone has the open eyes and open hearts to receive those blessings, Lord. Thank you for watching over the children, administration of the district. Thank you for allowing us the blessing of being able to serve, Lord. Please lift up all those in need. We see that your will be done for them, Lord, as we know you will. In your name we pray. Amen.
This is for recognition, and there's a bag in front of each of you. Or do you want to talk about it, or Amber, or?
Oh, I will. It does have some little mini slider sandwiches in there, and some just chips, and some little cookies, and some pre-snipped cups, and some gum in case you need it. So, just whatever. But we all do very muchly appreciate the time, and we are not always rewarded, but you are all very much appreciated. And that is from all 3 campuses, from all of our staff. And there's also, you each have a gift card to Docs in there. Which I had to confirm with Terrell. I said, should I get you like a Chili's or something?
I told her, I said, when I'm not working, I do pay for my food.
So anyway.
Thank you all
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 6 is a consent agenda. Any questions or comments from the previous meeting? If all looks well, we'll move to comparison of revenue to budget.
You're right on track.
No discussion on that. Anything you want to say on tax collection?
Well, this is the time of year when we collect more taxes, because the state expects us to live off of local taxes during these 3 months. And so, since the November board meeting, we collected $1,106,024.66 in taxes. So it's coming in really regularly. We normally have a tax collection, 98, 99%, sometimes 100 something percent, considering that delinquent taxes come in and they figure that in. So we're very fortunate school district in that we don't worry about our taxpayers not paying their taxes.
No discussion, we will need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
A motion by Heath, a second by Terrell for approval as presented. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. That will take us to our number 7, campus reports and program review.
We've just been, it's hard to believe, we're halfway through this school year, but we're just moving forward. It's a busy time of the year. We're just wrapping up our middle of the year testing. We have all the teachers, they retest their students, they give them a star, that's with 1A. That tests their reading level, and that sets them in AR at the reading level that they can read at. They do that every 9 weeks. All the teachers have done that and reset their goals and for AR. We have a required dyslexia screener that we are required to give. It is, it's a little time consuming because it is a one-on-one. We have to pull the students, one at a time. Mrs. Boswell, Kayla Hall, and Kelly Hare just pretty much just go down the hall and just rotate kids in, and we've done that. Then the other thing, we've completed all 3 through 5 map testing, and we are trying to wrap up, the lower grades, so we'll do that this next week. Absenteeism continues to be a struggle, and so that's another thing. You have so many students that are absent, then you're trying to get it made up, so trying to find the time to do that, so that's always a challenge. I know that, also in the process of that, they have to go through and redo all of their RTI groups, and so, you know, as the year goes, some students have made more growth or a lot of growth that they really aren't considered to be a tier 3 or a tier 3 student. They're where they need to be. So sometimes those are taken out of small group intervention. However, then others may be falling through the cracks. So you kind of have to look midway through and adjust those groups and see what kind of changes you need to make. So we did that when we came back on January 3rd and met with teachers. I think the last time, which would have been in November, right? We talked about the STAR redesign. We mentioned about Amy Wright coming, and she did come visit with the teachers. She spent most of her time talking about Eduphoria, which is a program the district, I think through Region 14, right? And so there's a lot of stuff in Eduphoria. It's where teachers put their lesson plans. It's where their appraisals go, and there's also a testing component where they have a bank of questions. So talking about how to utilize that and trying to change some of the questions into the new question types. She talked about TFAR, which is, I don't know if you would call it a spin-off of Space. It's like STAR, the state puts it out, and some, it depends on what subject you teach. Some are very limited on the amount of questions at the elementary level that there are, especially in writings, at their grade writing, because they all focus on where the test is. So it's not in 3rd grade, or it wasn't, and so there's just not a lot there for them to choose from. So that's just a struggle for them. And I think in general, the companies that do those types of things are real slow to jump on board with these new question types because they're just really not sure what that's going to look like. So it's kind of struggle to kind of find enough stuff, but they're working on it, trying to figure out ways how to implement that into class. You know, can they use that like as an exit ticket, just simple 3 or 4 questions, or a bell ringer, a quiz, so just different ways where we feel like we're not being tested all the time. So we have plenty of that already. Let's see, I think that was pretty much it. Mrs. Wright did come. She even spent the afternoon going around one-on-one, visiting with the teachers, just to ask them if they had any other questions, and so I think that was very productive. I think sometimes teachers feel a little bit, you know, more at ease in a small group setting, a one-on-one, to ask questions, and than they do sometimes in a whole group. So everything's going great.
State Middle School is along the same lines. We're finishing up our middle of the year testing. The students and teachers are reviewing their goals that they set at the beginning of the year and creating new goals for now. So seeing if they met their growth goal and what they can do coming up. They're going to prepare for student-led conferences again in February. Well, they will lead their own conference with their teacher there if they need them, and then their parents there with them. So that's going great, I think. We have our English learners that are beginning to prepare for the TELPAS. One of the struggles that we've had with them is they have to speak into a microphone to take this test. And you can imagine if you already struggle a little bit with English, it's hard for them sometimes to sit in a room, and even though we spread them out, they don't really want to speak into that. So we're really trying to do a lot more practice with them and get them more prepared so they can be more successful in that area. We have Olivia Maya, who has taken over our art program since we no longer have Miss Golden, and she really is doing a fabulous job. She's already got some neat things that she has done. And I should have grabbed some of her artwork, but she's really, she's doing good, and so thank you, Mr. Chaplin, for sharing her with us. I think she's already reached out and said that she wants to do again next year.
Don't poach my teachers.
I didn't, she reached out to me. Gregory Cisneros has taken over the 7th and 8th grade PE that Jay did, and he does so good with them. He really has built a rapport with them, and he's doing lots of different neat things. One day I was looking in there and he had a whole activity he was doing with balloons, just different neat little things. And so I think he's really doing a great job with that, and he's doing some inclusion for us as well that Miss Golden did. We have cheer tryouts coming up. They're earlier this year on February 3rd. They're earlier because supply and demand, and if we don't get our order in as soon as we can, as Carrie well knows, you do not get your things back in time. So
the season is over.
we're trying to be one of the first to get everything ordered so that we have everything in before the end of the school year. We also have a Valentine's dance coming up that our student council will host, and so I think all the children will be looking forward to that.
All right, like those two campuses, high schools, the middle of the year is always busy. One of the first things we've done is we've looked at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, and so we evaluated where kids were sitting in regards to credits. We pulled in students that did not meet a semester credit and they lost a semester credit, make sure they understood what composite averaging was, make sure they understand there is hope. The hope needs to start right now. Me and Mr. Miller talked to every single one of them individually and as a group. That they understood that you can still get that credit, but we've got to take care of business right now. And so those will be a group of students that we will continue to monitor and track. Us, like for the other two campuses, we are doing we did the interim, the TFARB interim assessment, I think it was November-ish, about that time. The data came back, the data looked really good. Biology and US history are always strong when it comes to meets and masters. They look really well for this time of year. English 2 had some improvements, real good improvements in regards to meets and masters as well. English 1 and Algebra 1 are not where I want them right now. Good passing marks for this time of year, but not the meets and masters. So I had those two teachers meet. They identified 9 students that they shared that were not getting the support they felt they needed. So we adjusted schedules and made sure that they had some type of lab or pull out time where they're meeting with a teacher beyond their regular classroom to get that additional support. MOI data, or MOI assessments, we're in the middle of that. The maps, we started, I believe, in the middle of last week, and we'll wrap up this next week. Again, hopefully see growth on the individual student basis. Professional development, I really thank Amber for kind of coordinating that for the secondary, for the middle school and high school. Out of that, I drove the high school teachers. I've asked for them to have a focus in the second semester to specifically look at and implement new assessment types in their classrooms. It doesn't matter what classroom you are. You can change a multiple choice question to a new assessment type question. The other thing that I want them to look at is writing. I want them writing in the classrooms more. And really focusing on a short answer, backing it up with some logic. Getting our kids to think a little bit more. But most importantly, what I asked them to do is continue to focus on our culture. To build that, keep that high expectation, that excellence, striving for excellence, and build that, keep those high expectations and build that ladder for our kids to reach that. Don't lower our expectations, increase the support that we're providing. The other things that we're looking at, starting to look at this last week, we start looking down the road for next year already. So we're looking at our master schedule. We started last week looking at our master schedule, making sure that we have all the courses we need within our program of studies, what courses we offer that don't align programs of studies, and then we'll start meeting with our students probably at the end of this month and actually going through their schedules. We'll start with this year's juniors, and we'll start having them select courses. We're gonna try to do this all online this year through a center. The service center says that it can be done, lots of schools do it, so we're gonna try to do it through the computer. That saves a lot of time when it comes to actually doing that schedule, building that schedule. It still requires some work in the summer quite a bit, but it's really a lot of thought process up front, good conversations with each individual kid to make sure they understand where they're at and where they're going, not just now, but once they graduate from us. So, and that's what's like going on with high school.
something else, Amber was talking about the TELPAS, that is part of our accountability this year. And
Yeah.
so they start, normally it's just 3 through, and it starts in the lower grades, they start tracking that, and so that's gonna be part of our A through F reading.
And we're at for elementary.
And where the writing used to be, holistic, I guess, huh?
Used to be samples.
Yeah, it was just sample writing, now it's all online, so that's gonna be a lot harder for those students to do as well.
So like, the teachers just selected different writing samples themselves, or they might have an assignment but now
They're gonna type
they have to type it.
It's gonna be difficult for all, and I'm
It's
gonna,
like hard for
yeah,
first grader.
third grader, taking a third grader that's a TELPAS, is a EB, emergent bilingual, who struggles with the English language anyway, and you're gonna put them on a computer and say, all right, we're gonna say this to you, and then you type an answer back to us. So it's gonna be a very big challenge for the lower grades, it's a big challenge for all of us, but elementary,
Chuck, did you have anything? you
Just real short, I'd just like to say on the extracurricular world that stock shows are in full swing. One Act play has kicked up and they're going strong. Athletics are in district play now. And in the band world, we are just cruising and going this Saturday, if y'all are free, at 6 o'clock at Tarleton. Our junior high and our high school kiddos that made the region band back in November, December will perform a free concert starting with the junior high at 6 o'clock. And then there'll be 2 junior high bands and then 2 high school right after. And that's at the Clyde H. Wells Center at the Music Building in Tarleton. It's a free concert. On January 7th, I had 3 students qualify out of region to area. Laura Sperlin on flute, she had finished 15th at area. Zaylin Bain on percussion, and he finished 12th at area. Both of those are sophomores, so future looks good for those kiddos. And then Wade Hadley's a senior, and he finished 4th at area. Unfortunately, Laura and Zaylin's predicament, they only take 2 out of their section to go on to the All-State, and in Wade, since the base clinic's a small section, they only take 1. So we were close, we're getting there, but we are battling the 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and we're the only 2As that were at that contest. In our area anyways.
Thank you all very much. Oh, we have someone else.
Yeah, I'll do it really quick, I promise. I thought we'd talk a little bit about some of the grants that we have applied for and some that we have received. TEA has put out several safety grants, the Silent Panic Alert grant, and we received the $5,714. We're going to use that for the Raptor Alert and Drill Manager software. I think Chuck could.
I'm gonna talk about it in safety here.
Okay, then he's gonna talk about that, which it does not completely pay for it, but there's another grant coming up. I think we can clean it up with that when it comes up. Then we have the TEA School Health Support Grant, which was for $25,000. And we've already purchased filtration systems, the portable ones, and they've already come in, and they just came in last week, so we'll distribute them to the different campuses, and it should help with circulation, and we'll put them in high traffic areas and stuff like that. So we were excited to get that one also. The JET grant that we received, we still can't make a press release on that
and
yet.
I'm waiting.
John, okay? They're gonna give us the release that they want us to give, and I've already contacted communications, and they're supposed to get back with me on that, so if you could not. Okay, anyway, as you can see how much that grant was for, it was for, equipment, that, Mr. Chaplin gets the benefit of using at the high school.
Students get to use it, not me.
One-
Way above my pay grade.
Yes, well, we have outfitted one room, hospital room, and, we've got from everything from the beds to the mannequins, and, well, half of this grant, as a matter of fact, went to the hospital room that we're setting up. All of this is on the premises of getting kids you know, to stay in the community, to go in the healthcare jobs, the nursing jobs, and we're looking at, a medical assistant certification. Of course, CNA certifications, anything else, we're excited to get to that point, but the grants should have to do the medical assistant. And, we're really excited with the machine that, Coach Ramish has in his room. And it is only 80 of them in the state of Texas, I believe. Maybe just a few high schools have them. Seven, yes. And, so we're excited about that. It's the state of the art. Dr. Marable and I went over and we looked at it and it's exciting. So anyway, I'm really excited about this grant. I'm proud of this grant. There was a lot of work, but, as you can see, we have to match a little bit of it, but that's nothing compared to what we received. And it all had to go towards equipment. And, the governor has already, put the list out there, I think, before the Workforce Commission, you know, contacted everybody about the press releases and everything. But I've been wanting to tell y'all about it for a while, but, haven't been able to. So I hope to tell y'all more when we get to do the press release. Okay, the school safety grant, which is gonna be, $200,000, that has just now opened up, and it'll take a few days to get that going, but, we should be able to pay for some things that we've already done with it, and, you know, without having to buy new stuff with it. We can go back to June, I believe, on things we purchased in June, and so we'll look at that. If y'all have any questions, y'all just let me know.
3 school buses.
3 school buses, there, yes, I did not put
They
that on
came
there.
today.
They came today,
The
on the bus
buses?
grant. Good.
They're here. I think actually
Has
4,
them come in.
but the grant was for half of 3.
So, if y'all have any questions about any of these grants, y'all just let me know, and, or the purchases that we're getting. Thank you. Good work.
Thank you very much.
Got a few more opportunities coming up, I'm gonna work on.
7.2 is, presentation by Mr. Randolph for the audit report.
Can y'all see that okay? Do we need to dim the lights or anything? Okay. Thank you for having me here. My name's Kevin Randolph. I'm with Bailey. I did the district's audit for the 2022 year. Audit was as of August 31st, 2022. I'm here tonight to go over those results and glad to answer any questions. First thing I'd like to go over is the auditor's opinion, which is the purpose of an audit, is for us to give our opinion on your financial statements. I'd like to point out a few things that management of the district is responsible for the preparation and presentation of those financial statements, including internal controls over procedures and processes for financial statements. We're responsible for expressing our opinion based on our audit procedures. And our opinion this year is the same one we've given you last year and really every year. It's what we call an unmodified opinion. That's the opinion you want to get. It's a clean opinion. It means that we found your financial statements were consistent with accepted accounting principles and we had no issues or findings this year. So a good clean audit. Gonna go into the numbers a little bit. This is a balance sheet of what we call governmental funds. So this is gonna be like your general fund, your debt service fund, and then the various funds for all the different grants that you participate in. And again, this is as of August 31st, 2022. I do have a side-by-side comparison. As of August 31st, 2022, total assets were $13,856,429. Most of that's cash and investments, so just like tax pool and other investment pools you have your money in, and that totaled about $8.9 million. Receivables is money that was due to the district, but you just hadn't collected the cash as of August 31st. That's gonna be mostly grants, like ESSER, and then Title I, Child Nutrition, Special Education, and it also includes your property taxes that haven't been paid yet, and those total about $630,000. Other assets is a big number, it's $4,300,000 that's almost entirely what we call restricted cash in your debt service fund. The district has some bonds that, you haven't paid the principal off yet, I think we pay them off in 2024, a couple of years down the line, so each year you have to put the cash into a bank account and set aside for those bonds. And that's up to about $4.1 million now. So while you have that cash, you can't spend it on anything but those bonds, so we have to show it as a restricted asset. And the remainder of that, 4.3 million is about 200,000, that's just borrowings between the district's various funds. The funds loan each other money, so it's like an internal amount. Total liabilities, $1,411,054. It's made up of a few things. Accounts payables, $178,712. That's just money you owe to vendors that hadn't been paid yet, and some of that's due to construction. I know there's some construction projects going on, such as the ag barn and bleachers, so it's a little bit higher than last year. Accrued wages is just money that your employees have earned that hadn't yet been paid. It's $410,954. Other liabilities is $671,000. About $200,000 of that's due to other funds. It's kind of the opposite of other assets. It's just money borrowed between the funds. And then the rest of that is unearned revenue for the special ed co-op, about $459,000. That's just cash that the co-op has received but not spent yet. It'll be revenue once it gets spent. Deferred inflows of resources is $149,859. That's your uncollected property taxes. So we can't show that as revenue until it gets paid. So once the taxpayers pay their taxes, that becomes revenue. Finite assets and liabilities on the fund balance. Fund balance at the end of the year was $12,445,375. Gonna dig into fund balance a little more now. And again, fund balance was $12,445,000. Last year it was $10,477,000. We put fund balance into 4 different buckets. The first is restricted fund balance. Restricted fund balance was $4,379,379. And about 4.3 million of that, again, is that debt service. So that's that restricted cash we were talking about. That's just money that's been set aside to pay your debt service in the future, so it cannot be used for anything else. The rest of that, about $79,000, is child nutrition fund balance. That's can only be used for child nutrition activities. Committed fund balance is for construction and campus activities, and in total, $284,234. The district in a previous year set aside $250,000 for future construction, and that's been set aside for a few years and hasn't been used yet. And committed, it's at the district's discretion. You know, you can use it or you can change it by your own action. So that's an internal set aside of the fund balance, whereas the restricted is legally required to be set aside. And again, that's $250,000 for construction, and the rest is for campus activities. Assigned fund balance is $1,900. That's for your SHAC committee. Not a lot of money, but that's there. Buildings with an unassigned fund balance, which increased from 6.3 to just about $7.8 million. And that's the general fund balance that's not restricted or committed. That can be used to pay your ongoing obligations or to be used how you see fit. Did increase quite a bit. We're seeing increases in unassigned fund balance in most of our schools, and that's largely due to all this COVID money that's flowing through the district. So the general fund balance is building up while you have this COVID money, but in a year or two, when the COVID money stops, we're probably gonna see that unassigned starting to go down. And it's higher for now. Gonna jump into revenues. Revenues last year were $12,799,000. Revenues this year are $14,214,164. We break revenue into 3 buckets: local, state, federal. Local revenue was $3.688 million. That's almost entirely property taxes. You do have some other things there like interest income on your bank accounts and, you know, athletic event revenue and other things like that, lunch money, but most of that's property taxes. State revenue went from about 6.8 to about $7.2 million. That's mostly gonna be your foundation money. That's what the state pays you based on your attendance. And federal revenue increased from 2.5 to just about $3.4 million. That's all the federal grants you participate in. You know, the big ones are Title I, special education, and child nutrition, and last couple of years, ESSER. This, went up about $900,000 from last year in federal, pretty much only due to ESSER. ESSER's just, changing the financial statements quite a bit for most schools. Expenditures. Expenditures last year were $10,861,000. Expenditures this year were $12,256,000. And just for some of the categories in there, instruction went from 5.1 to about 5.7. Biggest line item, what we would expect to be the biggest item, that's just the cost of teaching your students. Facilities maintenance, $1.8 million. And capital projects went from $409,000 to about $840,000. Several things going on this year. There's the ag barn, bleachers, and a couple of vehicles. That's all I have on expenditures. As the district does receive and spend more than $750,000 in federal revenue, we have to do another audit on top of the regular audit. We call it a single audit. And that's a compliance audit. We look at your federal programs and look for compliance, any compliance issues. As you know, if you participate in a federal grant, there's things you have to do, there's things you can't do. So now we're testing for that, and we don't look at every program. We take a risk-based approach to test a sample of programs each year. This year we looked at ESSER. Typically we look at special education because that's your biggest, but this year we switched it up and looked at ESSER. So we looked at everything you spent your ESSER money on. Did you comply with everything you were supposed to? Were there any compliance issues? And similar to the other audit, we had no issues, no problems, good clean audits. So that's that for that. That's really all I had. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I did want to say enjoy the opportunity to work with the district again. And I wanted to commend both Mr. Thompson and Alan for their participation. So, audit's a lot of work. We ask for a lot of things, and they both do a really good job of helping us. You know, I worked with Mr. Thompson for a long time, and I think for a small school to have access to someone of his experience and skills is a really great thing for y'all. I think it shows in your financial results, and also enjoy working with Allie and seeing her continue to grow into her role. So enjoy working with y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right, we're good. Yeah, let's do that. So we're gonna make sure Kevin gets to go listen to the Cowboys game. We're gonna skip to 8.2. I think it's 8.2. If we could, and go ahead and take the vote for approval of the 21-22 audit. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Carrie for approval,
Second.
second by Heath. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
Kurt will have this copy of it.
And you will, this is filed in the TJ and the feds for you, so
Okay.
you'll probably get some emails from us,
Right.
once we start it, you have to approve it, so
Yeah, Ally's got it ready to do.
we'll get it filed with the state and the feds.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all,
thank you very much.
thank you all.
Now we'll go back to 7.3 is facility projects.
Well, as you know, the egg barn is growing very, very near to an end. We are, almost ready to call the state people to come and do our ADA. Is it ADA? Yeah, ADA inspection and, see if it passes. And hopefully this time we're smarter and everything's the right level and the paper towel dispensers are just perfect. But, we'll call them, we do have, a few animals in residence now, we had some parents that just got their mind, and so our ag students have done such a great job of getting the stalls finished, and, it's,
There's a tremendous amount of entry or requests, way more than even I thought was gonna come, of kids wanting to put animals in there.
and the ones that have come so far are keeping it clean and taking care of their animals, and I asked Josh that just last week, he said they were doing a good job.
There were several inquiries about heifers and stuff like that I didn't think would be.
I didn't hear it, but it, and really, if you have time to stop by and see it, it really is.
Yes,
I guess you'd hate to say it's pretty, but it is.
It's nice.
It's really a nice facility, so, that's good.
it's supposed to be.
All right.
Check the proof
Oh.
That was a key detail.
Check on it, you go.
I'll check mine.
I was looking for the. Oh, I missed that arm either. Okay.
The elementary intercom, we were kind of shocked when we, got our prices back on that. So we kind of held off, about it, and I think I put it in somewhere, and I think it was. It was, what did I tell y'all at the meeting the other day? Like 13,000
for
for
my
one,
kids.
for yours, and like
8,000.
8,000 for yours, a little over it. So it's costly, but then again, if you're in the restroom and you don't hear the intercom, then, you know. So I think, after hearing our audit, that we probably can afford to go ahead and do it. Just, I did not put it on here for approval, because it's under the threshold anyway, but I did want y'all to know about it, that it was costly. But I think we need it. I think we need to have, where that, if you're in the restroom, you can hear the intercom.
Well, that's under safety, right? So that grant,
So yes, we can pay for it out of that, we think.
so this is in addition to the intercoms you already received, it just didn't cover bathrooms.
We didn't think about
Just things you didn't think about. Well, they thought it would be okay, but if you're in the restroom, there's a fan that's running in there,
That's
there's,
it.
not to mention children that are probably swinging off the doors. It's just loud and you just can't hear.
The first drill we had this year, a student walked out of the restroom and said, "What are you doing?" And he had no idea that it had gone.
So. you're not doing it.
Although I do think the people across the road can hear. That speaker on the front is loud.
Anyway, but yes, the $200,000 grant that we just got notified of this last week, I think we can put some of that money toward that. Anyway, I just wanted y'all to know about that. We had very little freeze damage, we did have some, we had a pipe in the gym, one in the high school area, and one in the co-op. All of those have been fixed, and we're, it just got cold so fast, it's all we can do with that, because we did turn the water off, we thought we took all the precautions, but, anyway, everything's been fixed, and that's it.
Thank you.
Safety audit is next. You will notice, we'll have a safety audit on every board meeting, simply because you want me to know what's going on.
And I like to. Region 14 contacted Mike Taylor, and Mike forwarded me the email. They've been doing phishing through the internet security that we are part of, the Know Before You. And so they hire out to a different company to send phishing emails to our staff. And very pleased to announce that during all of their pen testing, that we did not open any of the phishing, and we did not find any vulnerabilities for DDoS ISD. So our training has kind of helped us out on what we're looking for anyway. And then at the November board meeting, we discussed the emergency operations plan and sending it back and forth between the Texas School Safety Center, and that has been approved by the Texas School Safety Center. So we are in compliance and current and updated with them right now until they change their mind on what they want again, and then we will again attack that and continue trying to keep that up. In the months to come, you'll be hearing about Raptor, which Ms. Nallen kind of hinted towards her earlier already. Elon ISD and Raptor Technologies are joining forces. They're across the state of Texas and across the United States. And basically what they are is they're an app for your telephone, your iPads, computers, any technology device that you may have that can link certain units that are not on a cellular antenna. They're basically on their own. So if the cell towers go down, they still discuss kind of like a two-way radio. And they help us prepare, initiate, and do drills, but they also help us in emergencies. So if we're using them for our drills, which we will, then throughout the emergencies, and they take us from the planning part of it to the reunification at the end, and everything in between that we can think of. On Tuesday, the 24th, the administrative team and Dr. Marble leading our team, we have a meeting with Raptor to get the ball rolling and get started. So at this point in time, we're not exactly sure what we're getting ourselves into. We know what it is, but they're gonna tell us how to set it up and how to start using it, and then from there, I think it's little by little learning how to do it more and more. Thank you.
Very well, thank you, sir. 7.5 is the team of 8 self-study. I've compiled all the results you guys gave me.
Somewhere.
And they're right here. I think it's at our leisure to discuss this as thoroughly or quickly as we choose. Anyone has any thoughts on it? Things that stood out to you? Things we do well, things we don't do well? Everything's dynamite.
Yeah, this is not something that's required, it's something that's, I believe the quote on the calendar that said was highly recommended. But I think the value of it is for you to go through and read it and talk about it to yourself. And then, you know, if you see something that's fine, but it's not something that they're gonna come and check and say, you didn't do this or you didn't do it right. It is just something that the state recommends that you do.
Dr. Marable, is it in TEA requires it or TASB?
Nobody.
I mean, not requires, but highly recommends, whatever.
I think this came from Service Center originally, the one we used. And the calendar that comes out, I get a calendar every month that says, these are the things that you need to do this month. And this month it had the audit on it, and it had this on it, and it said, not required, but highly recommended. So it's just it's, when I got here, this is, the same one that they were doing in Comanche, that, and so we've just used it ever since, so. It just comes from the Service Center. And probably they got it from TASB, I don't know where they got it, does it say anywhere on
I was
it?
looking.
I don't know.
I didn't see
No.
anywhere.
It
It seemed like some of the questions were a little biased to me, and when TASB puts it out, you know that the people who work at TASB are former superintendents, so it leans that direction. And that's okay, as long as you understand that, and you know why it's the way it is, yeah.
Probably.
You know, a self-study is never bad, but, yeah.
It's just, I just think anytime you're evaluating it, it's for you. It's for you to get better, and it's not, something that you're doing to each other, it's something you're doing for this group, for this team, so, anyway.
Well, if ISD care, I'd care. And I don't know if they do or not, so,
Well, I hope they care.
I would hope so, yeah.
Anyway, that's why I give it to you every year, just. I'm really full of it.
Yeah, my thoughts would be it's always good to, I mean, it does make you think, but I don't feel like we have a issue here, so. If no other discussion on that, we'll move to 7.6, which is possibility of hiring a trainer.
And this is not something that I just thought about since the young man, the young football player had his, sudden cardiac arrest on the football field in front of the nation. I talked to Jacob, and Jacob had talked to me about it earlier in the year, and even my spring when he first came on board. We hire a trainer now to be at our football games, our varsity football games. Well, that's great, but our junior high football kids could have the same thing. In fact, during all of this, one lady called in, and said that her 16-year-old daughter was at her birthday party in the pool and had this happen, and she did not make it because no one knew what to do. Another lady said that she was walking out of a building, she had this happen to her. A school bus was driving by, there were 2 students on it who had had this training, knew what to do, grabbed the kit, came over, started the AED on her and saved her life. And these were high school students. The guy, there was a man talking about what made the difference in getting this young man back to life. And it said it was not because there were several doctors there who came onto the field, but the trainer immediately saw what was happening. He knew what to do. He knew where the AED was. He started it right then. I just think it would be nice. Now, having said all that, if you said go for it, I think it'll be very difficult to find someone with the training who wants to come and attend every single basketball game, every single volleyball game, every single whatever, because it's gonna be that person it's gonna have to be their life practically, to do what we want done, because I think it needs to be not a teacher that has the training, because that teacher might be on Lori's campus, or the need may be there and the teacher be the other place. So it needs to be someone whose job it is. It's just something I felt like I need to bring to y'all.
Dr. Marvel, so what you're thinking is they wouldn't necessarily be at the school during the day?
Not necessarily, but they might be at practices. But they wouldn't have the same schedule as a teacher. Because you have to let them sleep sometime.
Oh,
Yeah, because I know the thing, I go to a lot of things, but I can't go to everything, I just can't. But this person would need to go to as many as humanly as he or she possibly could. I've been in school districts where we had a girl trainer, I guess we automatically think boy, but we had a man and one, we had a woman trainer, both were effective. Hopefully we'll never have a catastrophe like this, but I see this person also in the summertime, when we have kids coming down to the weight room and lifting weights, and kids will be kids, boys and girls, and they say, oh, I can lift this, even though somebody had told them what. But this trainer would be in charge of saying, this is what you need to do.
so in that light, they would be there during the day. Are you thinking about a contract
Yes.
as opposed to hiring a person
Yeah, I think this person needs to be a professional contract, so not an hourly person, because we can't afford. I tell teachers all the time, we can't afford them by the hour, you know, because they put in lots more hours than we could pay them by the hour for. But this person would be at main events, I don't know, I really don't know how exactly.
They're not gonna carry a class load. Their function will be
Yeah.
to shadow the
Yeah.
coaches and to really take care of the health and
But-
well-being of the students, the athletes.
I had a lengthy conversation with Brad Bettis about it. And the only advice he gave it, and hey, I'm for it, he was for it, I haven't heard anybody that's not for it. But he said that he had people working for him that were from Tarleton. The issue was that if they had a test or something, they wouldn't show up. Or if their professor said, no, you need to be at the Tarleton basketball game or something, then they don't show up. He said, you know, I'm just sharing with you that, is that wouldn't be a good direction to go. And yet on the other hand, gosh, can we afford it? I mean, if we can find it, can we afford it?
Well, I even talked to, Landon Lewis about this way back before, you know, he fell in love and moved away to Cisco. And he said, oh my goodness, you know, this would, I didn't talk about saying, we want to hire you, I just talked about the need. And he said, this has to be a really special person that it's their life. And he said, but it really can't be a student. And I think that's what maybe Brad told you. But what we have now at football games are students, I think the trainers that come are students at Tarleton we pay $6,000 a year, that's what we're paying for just varsity football, that's what we pay. And they're at every varsity football game.
To whom do we pay?
Tarleton.
Okay.
We pay it to Tarleton, we contract with them, with their training program. So, I think the next year, if you told me, go look, the next problem would be finding. And, you know, there might be somebody just around the corner, but, you know, my first year as a superintendent, I was in a little school, and our trainer was one of the coaches. He had no training, but he'd been around it a long time, and he knew a lot to do, but he didn't have, he was also a coach, and so he was coaching kids, and sometimes they'd lay out on the sideline a little while before he'd go over and, you know, pop their shoulder back and join that.
Do your coaches, are they required to have like CPR and
Yes.
things like that?
Yes, they are. All of our coaches, in fact, all of the sponsors of all of our extracurricular activities have that. And we are presently having an offering of class for just people that wanna have it.
Do you have like AEDs at every campus?
We do.
or-
We do, but at our admin meeting this past week, we decided maybe we don't have enough, because we have one in what we call the new gym, but we don't have one at the old gym. We have one at the elementary school. We have one at the field house, we have a traveling one, but we have one traveling. We have one here, we have them a lot of places, and they are very expensive. And we check the batteries in them, and Chuck is really good about making sure those, and they are really pretty foolproof. You throw them on there, if they don't need it, it doesn't do anything. But we do have them, but out of our safety grant, I keep spending that $200,000, we're gonna order some more so that we have multiple ones. I mean, Lori needs more than one on that campus, is spread out as that campus is. And hope we never need to use it. But, I think that, we had this big effort about 3 or 4 years ago where we added some, because I think we, at that time, had about 3. But we feel pretty good about where they are, but we don't have enough. And so,
Well, and I would hope it would be more for when somebody's injured, they understand what that injury is, and
yes, that's true, and that's what this guy was talking about, it was a doctor was talking about, he said, that the thing is that trainer recognized what was happening and went into action because those of you with more medical experience than I said you have about 3 minutes to get something going before there's some permanent damage. And they did, and it looks like he's going to be just fine. But, I don't know. So anyway, this was just for discussion. It is on here later for y'all to talk more seriously about. So. And thank you for doing that.
We'll move to something else.
No, the next one we'll talk about.
7.7, revising the current school calendar, moving the graduation date to May 20th.
May 20th, that's a Saturday. It is, that is on here for you to, vote on later, but we had an admin meeting Friday? Seems like a long time ago, but, Friday, and we talked about it. Because the state has now changed it from days of student attendance to minutes of student attendance, and we have lengthened our day, our instructional day, we are going to have a lot of extra minutes. And because the state has changed from testing almost all the way to the end of May, which we did last year, and the testing will be over on
First week in May.
the first week in May this year. We can move our graduation up a week and, have, in school on the 19th would be the last student attendance day, and we have graduation on the 20th. And we would like for y'all to think about that. Questions? And the reason we're saying it right now is because we want to do it before people, order stuff and whatever.
My view, that's y'all's,
Yeah.
that's y'all's
There's plenty of
expertise, not
time.
ours.
There's plenty of time.
It's a long, it's gonna be a long 3 weeks after testing
Mhm.
and stuff. It just is. And the staff would still come the next week.
Yeah,
The
the
staff
staff
will
will-
still be there.
Staff will still work, this will give us an opportunity to start doing some planning for next year, getting things ready. We have, especially our elementary teachers, are, you know, after the 4th of July, they're pretty much here working in their rooms. I tease and say several of them change their bulletin boards 3 times before school starts every year because they come. But this will give them time to work on our campus plans, our district plans, get ready for summer school, a lot of things that last week, so.
Okay. Board training opportunities.
I did add one, I came across this one from TASB, and they're offering a webinar for board members to talk about how board members impact public schools. It's on February the 8th from 12 to 1. If you want to, tune into that, I can give you the information, or, Raisha can give it to you. So if you wanna call one of us and get the login information, I'll do that for you. It's just an hour, and I couldn't find anywhere where it said you got credit for it. It was just a, informational type thing.
We will move to section 8, which is action items. 8.1 being donations and gifts to the district.
We had $1,000, given to, well, first of all, $2,000 was donated back to us from the Angel Tree. This happens every year. A lot of people give cash donations to the Angel Tree, and if we don't need it to fulfill everybody's wishes, then they donate it back to us, so it's seed money for the high school, middle school kids. The student councils go shopping, or they get angels off the tree, and this helps fund that project. So we're very grateful for that. And then the ESA sorority gave $325 to our SHAC program, remember? That's the Student Health Advisory Group, and we, sometimes meet needs of students through that. Sometimes it's, there's nothing to eat in the pantry, sometimes it's that there are no sheets on the bed, sometimes it's clothing, but special needs that are identified. We keep on campuses, hygiene packs for deodorant and toothpaste and toothbrushes and things for kids that just simply don't have those. And so that's been a real popular thing. We've done that now for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. And, I was surprised at how much that is used, that some kids don't have access to deodorant. So anyway, we're very grateful for that donation, and I ask you to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Comanche County Child Welfare Board and ESA sorority donation.
A second.
A motion by Rachel and a second by Cecilia for approval of item 8.1. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. 8.2 is complete. 8.3, approval to hire Hyde Bailey for current year independent audit.
That's for this year.
This coming year.
So you use the same auditor every year?
Not every year. Mr. Thompson feels very strongly about these people because they are so thorough. And, in fact, we actually talked about this the other day. Ally said, you know, they ask for so much and they are so meticulous about it, but she said, I feel like that if we're ever audited by TEA, if there's ever a question, we'll be in such good shape. And she said, I talk to other people and they say, well, their audit's not that hard, but ours is, it is very thorough. So, we've used these people, I guess, about 4 years. Before that, Kevin worked for another company that we used before then. But, when they come, they bring usually 3 or 4, sometimes 5 people, and they'll be here for the major part of a week, and they go back in that back room and they really do a thorough job. So,
Is it typical for schools to have the same company for that long, or do they usually rotate every other year?
I think the
I think
places
when I
I've
was
been,
in corporate, we always rotated every other year, you had somebody.
well, the places I've been, they've used the same people. If it's somebody they really trust to do it, you know.
Would there be anybody that's more local than Abilene that,
Well, Kevin is investing.
okay, with the company?
Yeah.
I looked it up, and their office is in First Financial in Abilene.
Oh, yes, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I don't know. When we advertise, come on your bank, you know, you have to kind of beg people to come do it sometimes.
Well, I don't have any, I feel like they did a great job. I haven't seen any, red flags or issues or anything like that. I just know typically, people have about 2 companies that they use, that they kind of feel that way towards both of them, and then they alternate years. And that way you kind of always have.
A fresh one. I don't know anyone else, but we could look. So, you want me to advertise and see what's out there?
Maybe like not on this go round, but in the future, I think it would be smart to do that and see if you can get on a rotational. I don't know if you're gonna find somebody that you like as much as them, but it's
Well,
still.
I will tell you, when they come here, we don't see much of them. We really don't. I tried not to go in there unless I am called in there. And of course, like y'all get a letter, I get that same letter. They come in and one of them will come in and sit down and look me face to face and ask me all those questions, you know, do I suspect anything? next year with the, check fraud that we had, we will have something to tell them. And we are still working on that, by the way. We've not given up on finding out who opens a bank account. and whatever. I will do that, I will.
Yeah, I would only add that, I personally put a lot of faith in Mr. Thompson. If he's behind someone, and says they're thorough, then they're thorough. My opinion.
Well, a couple of years ago, when Ally was newer at the job, and it was more, I almost say frightening, when, you know, the auditors come, she said, wow, next year, let's go with one of these where they say it's not hard. And Mr. Thompson said, Ally, I trust these people to do it and do it right. And he said, I think you need to always, you know, you're not looking for the easy way out, you're looking for a thorough audit. But it's a lot of money to spend on an audit every year. I can't remember what it was, but it's a sizable bill. But I wrote that down.
So with that being said, it's up to y'all how you present the motion. The motion is written, the recommendation is written to approve I. Bailey for this year.
I move that we approve I. Bailey for the current year audit.
Motion for approval by Craig. Second. Second by Karen. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-1.
The next thing is the statement of assurance. This is something we do every year. To this point, I've never had anybody ask me for it, but I have them on file in case they ever do. So it's assuring that we have a district-wide salary schedule, which we do, we all approve every year. A written policy to ensure the equivalency among campuses. And that's something that I think maybe one of the main reasons we have that, because I've seen districts where you spend more for individual students on the high school than you did the elementary, and we try very hard not to do that. A written policy ensure the equivalency among campuses, for instructional supplies, same thing. Mr. Thompson is a stickler about that. In the spring, I think you'll notice on the budget calendar, he'll meet with all of the district administrators, and he'll ask them, you know, what they want. They'll ask them what they need, and then they'll work through it, but he makes sure that they're treated fairly.
So we're basically approving that we have this
That you have one,
document.
yeah. And it may be antiquated, we may not need them anymore, but I'm antiquated, so.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion for 8.4.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Carrie, a second by Edie. Approval of 8.4, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
I believe I have already brought you the planning and budget calendar earlier, but I will just tell you that I was looking at it, I had 22, 23 on in one place, and I have changed it, corrected it, and so this is just generally how we do our budget. Mr. Thompson and Ally and I sit down and talk about these things, make projections, where we are, how we've done after the audit has come out, so we know that we've done a good job or not. Anyway, this is exactly what we've done in the past. Notice that the board meeting in August will be on the 28th of August, because that's the last Monday that we can report, and you have to have your budget approved by then.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning and budget calendar for the 2023-2024 year.
EAL.
EAL, yes.
I'll second.
A motion for approval by Rachel and a second by Terrell. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. That will take us to section 9, which is personnel.
We will do the first two first.
Okay,
9.1.
9.1 is recommendation and approval for a contract for Maddie McMeans for the remainder of the school year.
As you know, Maddie had to not get paid for this fall semester. She had to go through student teaching, even though she worked for us the whole year before as a teacher. But anyway, I'd like to offer her a contract for the rest of the year.
But she's certified now.
She is for real. She has passed everything.
I make a motion that we hire Maddie.
Motion for approval by Terrell, second. Second. Second by Heath, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. 9.2 is the recommendation for approval, the addition of a trainer. I don't know how you address it, I mean, I know it's not a bad idea, but, how do you feel, I don't know.
Perhaps the motion could be to direct Dr. Marable to investigate the possibility.
That would be
That's
wonderful.
So let me, Dr. Boswell, if you would restate that motion how you want it to
I'm
read.
not sure I can.
So I believe we have a motion by, Dr. Boswell, not for approval this time, but to direct superintendent to, investigate our options.
Like, what did other schools roughly our size have, you know, like, what other options, what is it, I mean, like, what kind of education are you looking at, like, what are you thinking about the cost is? Well, I mean, like, a whole gamut of things, you know, I mean, it's just,
A job description.
yeah,
would be
job
nice.
description would be,
Okay,
you know,
Important.
yeah, yeah.
I'm happy with it.
Okay, we have the motion as read.
I'll second it.
We have a second by Carrie. All those in favor? 9.2 passes 7-0. 9.3 is, acknowledgement of the superintendent's summative evaluation report. And evaluation. We have a motion by Carrie to enter into closed session. Second.
I'll second.
No, no, what's the volume?
Second by Rachel. All those in favor? 7-0. We will enter
Is that mean we're running
at
a closed session?
8:15 p.m.
No,